Hello from New York. We are the Sisters of Life. So happy to be with you on the West Coast. I'm Mother Agnes, and here to celebrate with you one of the aspects of the culture of life, that is the witness to adoption. You know, the first spiritual adoption occurred at the initiative of Jesus Christ, with the words, "Woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother." God creates and has a plan for every human life, and today we celebrate every woman whose courage, selflessness, and heroic love allowed her to entrust her precious child into the loving arms of an adoptive mother and an adoptive father as a manifest expression of God's will and plan for the life of her child. I am honored to introduce to you today Grace Dulaney, a mother, a champion of adoption as a life-giving alternative to abortion, a founder and CEO of the Agnes Dei Foundation and the Lamb of God Ministry, which creates loving, nurturing homes for young pregnant women who wish to consider adoption. I give you Grace Dulaney.
Thank you, sister. How appropriate that as the founder of the Agnes Dei Foundation, I'm introduced by Sister Agnes. I'm honored and humbled to be addressing you today. Over a year ago, when Dolores and Eva asked me to speak at this Walk for Life, we had no idea that the DC March for Life had chosen adoption as their theme for 2014. Who was at the DC March? Any of you braved the snowstorms? Awesome, thank you. We're having the opposite weather here, aren't we? So that march teed it up nicely for me, and I'm here today to share the message that to be truly pro-life, we must be pro-adoption. Studies show that most women believe that they are taking the life of their child when they have an abortion. That cannot be good for society. It means over 56 million people, 56 million women, excuse me, in our country are living lives fraught with guilt, shame, and regret. And in their minds, the only alternative that they saw to abortion was to parent their child, and they did not feel capable of that responsibility. This is why the theme of this walk is Abortion Hurts Women. Through sharing my story today, I hope to open your hearts and your minds to a solution to the hurt. We want to have a new message, a positive message moving forward. And I want to help you to understand that adoption heals women. Abortion hurts women, adoption heals women. Adoption needs to be offered, explained, and even encouraged to young women in crisis pregnancies. Sometimes workers are feeling like they can't ask a girl to make that choice. But these girls are desperately looking for solutions. And as workers in the pro-life vineyard, we owe it to them to offer this beautiful and positive solution. To be pro-adoption, we really need to understand adoption today and not rely on the perceptions of adoption from the days when that option was often coerced and even cloaked in secrecy and shame. How often have we either thought or heard, "I could never give my baby away," not knowing if they were okay. Some even add, "I could have an abortion, but I could never have a baby and give it up for adoption." People even have the gall sometimes to accuse girls who are thinking about adoption of being selfish. I'd like to know how carrying a baby for 9 months of pregnancy and going through childbirth and ending up with empty arms at the end of it could ever be considered selfish. I've heard these comments personally. 21 years ago, I was a struggling divorced mother with 2 young children. I'm a sinner. I got pregnant. I'm not proud of how I got myself into the situation, but I am proud of what I did with it. I knew abortion was not an option, but I also knew that although I could be a good single mother, I could not be a father too. I felt my baby deserved the best possible start in life with a mother and a father, a married mother and a father. I could not provide that. I've heard it said that sometimes the best form of parenting is to choose someone else to do it. I also knew that I could not bear the thought of never seeing my baby again. I knew that my children would need the comfort of knowing their sibling was growing up loved and cared for in a wonderful family. I chose a very special couple as the parents for my son. Of course, every birth mother thinks that they have chosen the absolute best couple out there. And I want to speak to any of you who may be adopted out here in our crowd today. And you don't know your birth mother, and maybe you never will. But I'm here to tell you, on behalf of all birth mothers, that you are not abandoned or unwanted. You were deeply loved. And what your birth mother wanted was what was best for you. She did not give you away. What she gave away was a piece of her heart with a sacrificial love like no other. At the time of my pregnancy, open adoptions were a fairly new concept, but one that gave me the confidence and the comfort in my decision. Although it's a fairly new approach, open adoption is really as old as time and actually has biblical roots. Think Moses. In order to avoid having her son murdered, Moses' birth mother entrusted him to the Pharaoh's daughter to raise. So adoption led Moses to fulfill the plan God had for him and his people of birth. The choice of adoption may not be for everyone, and we certainly respect all women who choose life. However, for those considering adoption or counseling women about it, I feel the need to explain open adoption, especially because 96% of adoptions today are open. The degree to which they are open varies from adoption to adoption. The birth mother and the adoptive couple work it out together through an adoption plan. Open adoption does not mean co-parenting. Many people are confused about that. The child grows up with a clear understanding of who his parents are, but also knowing that they are loved by both their adoptive and biological families. The gift of open adoption is the fact that it eliminates the unknown and the questions that have surrounded adoption in the past. Now children who are adopted know from the beginning why they might be 6'5" and have blue eyes. But most importantly, they understand that they are deeply loved and the reasons that the birth mother entrusted them to their parents. In my case, I had pictures and letters and visits, and when my son was young, I always dreamed of the day when I would have an adult relationship with him, and my heart overflows with love and joy as I introduce you to my now grown son, Dylan. I know I'm prejudiced. He's pretty handsome, isn't he? So God has now blessed me with a wonderful husband and 2 more beautiful children late in life. 2 years ago, Dylan came to visit and stay with us for a joyous visit. It was a defining moment for me and resurrected the vision that I'd had for many years to help unwed mothers in crisis pregnancies be encouraged and supported in their decisions to choose adoption. He truly is the inspiration for the Agnes Dei Foundation. God often uses our deepest pain as the launching pad for our greatest calling. So we have two rampant problems. We have 53% of the general public, 53% of the babies being born to the general public, the majority are now being born to unwed mothers, 73% in the African American community. And less than 2% of unwed mothers choose adoption. So 70% of teen pregnancies, 80% of prison inmates, 90% of the homeless population were all raised without a father in the home. On the other side of the equation, 2 million couples, wonderful intact families, are waiting on waiting lists to adopt. But because abortion is so prevalent, very few babies are available to adopt. Contrary to what some people believe, we no longer have orphans or orphanages. What we have is a broken foster care system filled with children whose lives could have looked very different had they been placed with adoptive parents at birth. The mission of the Agnes Dei Foundation is to impact the culture of life by being a champion for adoption. The hand of God has been on our ministry from the beginning and fully embraced by even the likes of our quarterback in San Diego, Philip Rivers, who's on our board of directors. Amen. In the safe, nurturing home, girls are loved and honored for their courageous decision. They're surrounded by staff and volunteers who believe in adoption. And living with other girls on the same path protects them from their pressure to parent or abort. Believe it or not, we're the only maternity home in San Diego County and one of only a handful in the nation focused specifically on adoption. Everyone who walks into our doors feels an overwhelming sense of peace and joy. One of our birth mothers, Bianca, is right over here, along with our program director. When our girls leave our home, they feel empowered and armed with tools and filled with hope. Their lives are transformed. Abortion does hurt women, and adoption truly heals women. This is why, in order to be pro-life, I'm asking you to be pro-marriage and pro-adoption. Thank you very much.